flying like a jet. Moving on to the next topic of the show. Handsome John, why don't you go ahead and take over since you wanted to hurry up and get to your topic.
I wasn't in a hurry, but I'm excited because this is something that we've had conversations with in the past, and we've actually talked about recently the price points of games going up to $70 a game, and this kind of helps tie that in and gives a little bit more understanding of what to expect from the upcoming consoles, and how important this will be determined on how you are as a gamer. But Xbox reportedly tells developers that next-gen upgrades should be free. And Xbox is all about, I want you to buy the game and be able to access it through all your platforms. Doesn't matter what platform you want to access it on, I want you to play games. Which, that sounds really good. But in reality, what it really means is that, I don't want you to have to not buy my console because you're worried about paying more for this game, the same game, but higher res. And also worried that if I buy the game too early and I won't buy it now because I'm waiting to buy the new console. And so there's a lot of mix and match of what people are expecting to see when it comes to buying their games for these Xbox and PlayStation consoles to, now with the current gen or later with the new gen. And with PlayStation not really having smart delivery, but a guaranteed 100 games to be confirmed for being compatible between the PS4 and PS5 is a good thing. But a lot of people are going to be left in the dirt with what your games you bought. And you should be able. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to, but that's another discussion. But there are guaranteed games that are going to have free upgrades through PlayStation. Destiny 2, Cyberpunk 2077, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Far Cry 6, and Marvel's Avengers. But you also have special cases where just because you buy the PS4 version or the Xbox Series X or the Xbox Gen X version, you don't get the free upgrade for a game like NBA 2K21. You have to buy the $100 Mamba edition in order to be able to have that upgrade from the previous gen to the new gen without spending the $60 and $70 price point.
And that's true for both consoles, right?
Yes.
For both.
Both
Xbox
not between
and,
Xbox. Both Xbox and PlayStation. You have to buy the Mamba edition to have the upgrade without spending the total $130 to have both, which is insane to me in a lot of ways, but actually not unexpected. There are people who are saying, I don't want to give the free upgrades because that involves more work, which a lot of people are also saying that we don't want you to up-res it. We just want to have access to it. We don't want a, Spelunky version, shining. I just want to play the game on my console as what it was and just have access to it.
We want to play a PS4 game on a PS5. I don't want the PS5 version of the game. I just want to be able to bring that game over.
Right.
Exactly. And so a lot of people, I could understand why you would feel almost cheated in that instance where, you have this $70 game from a $60 game on top of it. Where a lot of people, unlike us, where we spend massive amounts of our time in games and money, a lot of people have to pick and choose. And so going from a $60 to $70 price point in general, you have to come up with a reason to want to, I'm not going to buy this game twice. So I have to either wait for the new platform or I have to buy it now and get this upgraded type version for it later, or it comes with a free update, which a lot of these people want people to buy their game as soon as possible. So this free upgrade right now during this transitional period is super smart, but there's no guarantee that it's going to last and for how long and for how many games.
Water drinking.
Yeah, the cucumber accents the water in such a way.
You don't drink water on this show.
And for those of you who don't know, Mark just brought out a gallon jug to drink out of.
Thank you for telling our audio listeners.
I know that was super random for you. But this is also kind of important into how you want to look at the Xbox with smart delivery and PlayStation, which does not have smart delivery and has like a middle of the way kind of patch to get you through to the next generation. So when you're making your choices between Xbox and PlayStation, where you have Game Pass for Xbox, which inevitably will have a lot of games on there, but not all of them. there's this huge juggling act that people are going to be making decisions on. Not to mention that if you buy a PS4 copy of, say, Watchdog Legions, and you want to play it on your PS5 with the free upgrade, well, if you don't buy the disc version of the PS5, you cannot get that free upgrade because you need the disc in order to get the free upgrade to the PS5 version. So if you didn't buy it digitally on PS4, you don't get the digital upgrade on PS5. If you have the disc, you have to have the disc in order to get that upgrade.
So if you have the disc, you have to make sure you keep the disc in order to upgrade. You can't sell that back or give it to a friend or something along those lines.
Yeah.
That disc will be used as a verification. Now, I don't think they've confirmed if it's verification every time you play or just when you make the upgrade yourself.
No, it's got to be in it in order for you to play.
Okay, so they're basically saying it. If you purchase the hard copy of Valhalla for PS4, if you want to play it on PS5 with this free upgrade, you have to keep the PS4 disc.
Yes.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a super weird space on a couple of reasons. One, Sony has officially stated that any game released from July 13th forward has to play on PS5. Mm-hmm. So at this point in time, any game that comes out now for PS4 will be available on your PS5 to play backwards compatibility wise. Yeah. You won't get the upgrade, but you'll be able to play your PS4
Which is fine. That's really what people are looking at. If you want to play an older game, you should keep your console for those specific reasons. Now, I'm sorry to say you're not going to get that much money back for it right now anyway.
Anyways, yeah.
But a lot of people do depend on that money in order to get the next console because of how they budget. So you kind of let go a lot more money than if you did buy a lot of games than you would have gotten for it.
I think the biggest problem people are going to have right now is just the market is saturated because of the fact that the console generation has lasted as long as it has. The price for a used PlayStation 4, I'll do the used PS4
$200 at best.
Exactly.
Selling for $400 right now.
So you can buy a used PS4, straight PlayStation 4, $89, $90. So,
what about the Pro? I mean, you're not going to really want to buy an old PS4. You're going to go Pro if you're going to have the old one.
About anywhere between $200, $250. Yeah. So,
and I mean, I'm not getting rid of my Pro. It's going to be my VR console at that point in time, and which is fine for me because of how avid I am. But for someone who's like, I could use that $200 to put towards the next console, which my prediction is going to be about $500. You would only be spending $300 on your console with the trade-in.
Yeah.
Now it also comes with this.
Well, it depends on where you sell it. Because if you sell this to somebody where you get the cash directly, sure. But the bigger issue is that
you're not getting that back from GameStop.
You're not getting anything.
You're maybe getting $7. It's the best they can do.
On eBay or something, you're probably not going to even reach that much simply because it's a competitive market space.
Well, there's no reason for you to pay the price that, I think right now, I'm wondering, you think I would imagine the PS4 Pro would drop to $300 when the PS5 comes out, minimum. Because it's being sold for $400 right now.
I mean, I would say that's a smart move, but will Sony do it? I don't know.
Well, I mean there's no reason. I mean, there is a reason. There is a market for people to want to buy PS4 Pros in the stance of the world, but the market's going to be pretty competitive where you're currently at for the newer console. No one's going to want that directly. So you getting third-party funds for that at max is going to be a lot lower in chance.
None of that helps me.
I mean, even
I tried to look up to see if I could find some information on what the price of the PS3 was when PS4 launched, and that's a very, very specific query that Google does not have the answer to right away.
Now, the interesting part is that Microsoft is also not mandated that these developers give the free update to their newer console. But there's no saying that they won't either, but I don't think they want to push away developers from their game to have to give away something. So they'll never actually demand it.
This is what I wanted to point out, is that I am in no way trying to slander Microsoft, Xbox, what they're doing, because I think they have been consumer friendly for the foreseeable, for most of this generation. They're continuing to do so.
Let's not forget about the DRM, okay?
I mean, they have that. I'm not saying they're perfect, but I'm saying that
they're making up a lot of freaking runs from where they fell behind.
They're making up a lot, and it's through a consumer friendly approach. However, the big this like the big thing to notice here is that, what I would like consumers to look at is how many games are you getting on PlayStation that you cannot get this upgrade that are also on Xbox. Because again, Microsoft isn't mandating, they're strongly urging all developers. And what Sony has basically done is just said, devs, you do whatever the hell you want. And most devs are doing this because they know their consumers want it. Now, I'm not saying either one or the other is better. Microsoft definitely looks better for taking this approach.
Yeah.
But it's a very soft-balled approach
Yes.
of like, hey, you should do that. Hey, by the way, we told everyone they should do that. That's right. We got
Well,
this.
I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's also their way of telling people, like, you guys do not want to create this barrier right now because you will cut yourself off from selling more games. Do not
Yeah.
be dumb. I'm recommending you do this. If you don't, I don't want to hear bitching, is pretty much what he's saying. Because he wants to sell his console. To be fair, he wants everybody to say, I have faith in Microsoft being able to have games for me to play that I have already bought. That's what he wants. And a lot of publishers want people to play their games. I mean,
he being Phil
Spencer. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I
I forget who I talk to sometimes. I'm talking at you, but I'm really not talking at you.
So I think this is an interesting balance that Microsoft's kind of got to strike, which is why I think they went with the softball approach. Because if they tried to play hardball and tell all the developers, you have to do this, I think you're going to have a mass uproar of your developers that are just going to go, whatever, Sony's got better numbers anyway, we're going over there.
Oh, I know. And
Like,
like,
we're
Sony's
just-
got
we're
the
just-
balls
we're
to
just
say,
not-
hey, anything released after June 17th has to be compatible. This is not an if and or but. If
Yeah.
you want it released on this console, that is what you are doing in
but
order to
yeah.
be certified.
I think by playing softball, they get the PR benefit. Microsoft gets the PR benefit, but the developers are also like, I mean, realistically, we don't have to, and everyone who buys a next-gen console is going to want to rebuy the game anyway if they want to play it with updated graphics, so why don't we just continue doing everything the way that it's been done for generations now?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, and quite frankly, most third party that are straggling the line between the two of them anyways are going to want to make sure that their game continues on. Like where Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey made its money wasn't just in initial sales, but it was in the season pass, which cost
Yeah, yeah.
$40 on the back end, which made the game a total of $100 to
$100 game.
purchase.
Yeah.
So that's what they're looking for. So of course they're saying, you know what? In this middle ground, we'll arguably lose, $60. But regardless, we're getting your $60. We're going
Right.
to make more
Oh,
sales
yeah.
in this
Well-
because of the fact that we're saying, cool, you can just play it on whichever one you want.
And Assassin's Creed's known for their DLC, like being like with their gold package or whatever. Like I think it started with Syndicate is when they started doing that. And I was totally disappointed in Syndicate, but yeah, Odyssey it turned out to be really good. So
Odyssey's
unfortunately,
was- As someone who
it's like
loves the
this giant
lore,
juggle.
it is. As someone who loves the lore of that world, John, like I wish I could just like fast forward you to the DLC because it is.
I would
everything
totally
you
actually
want.
go there to do that. If you could get me to
Yeah.
that point, I would play it from that point. Because I got Valhalla coming, and we got
Yeah.
Ghost of Tsushima coming. I got a trophy pick on the Last of Us here. So anyway, getting back to the point.
we can play it on Stadia.
Yeah, you
That
should
thing still
go ahead and
exists?
do that.
Poor Stadia.
What a waste
No,
of money.
what I just find
It's
this
not
very
bad.
fascinating.
I give it crap, but it's just not my thing. I'm not saying it's bad.
Hey,
But
don't
somewhat.
worry, Sekiro will be on Stadia this fall. That's right, almost a year and a half after it came out on all other platforms. Not a big deal. It's cool. It's cool. Enjoy. Who the fuck wants to play a From Software game where there could possibly be lag? I'm going off my soapbox. It's fine. We don't need to talk about Stadia any longer. But
This
but
is
I do
actually
find
this current gen console war with developers and publishers is really what it comes down to is like the sports fans. For instance, if you're going to buy FIFA 2021, you don't want to get stuck with the older version and not be able to play with your friends when you buy the PS5. And they're trying to, incorporate everybody being happy with this transition because there's nothing worse than a pissed off gamer. They cause so much more problems than the happy ones do. So you're just like,
I mean,
we have
I
to
think-
figure out how to make this work.
Just
I can
play
think of
play
a
one or two
few
games
things
online of Call
worse.
of Duty. You'll see. Like
Oh my god.
I feel like I can think of a few things worse than a pissed off gamer. That's just me. Let's put that out there.
Not for those companies. But
Not for those companies. Okay.
yeah. Well, who else are we talking about?
bankruptcy.
The cool part about all this, though, is with the $70 price point, this also comes into play because they want more money for higher res stuff, and other people are saying, I don't want to have to deal with, and a lot of people are even saying they're looking at 2K21, and they're like, it's not even worth the price of the PS5.
Yeah.
And here they're asking people to pay $100 to be able to have that increase. And I don't think that's entirely fair. I mean, if like you're going to have a subpar game come out that you're going to have people pay extra to have this PS5 upgrade, you better have a reason to do it, or people are going to flip out and not trust the process. And that's
John,
even worse than anything else that could possibly happen during a console transition.
There's nothing that speaks more tradition in gaming than getting there on day one, getting your console and playing a shit game, because that's what it's all about.
I mean,
You're
they're
just so
changing that. I
excited.
mean, they're going to have this transitional period where you're going to have pretty cool games. You got Watch Dogs Legions, you got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you've got first-party games that are going to be coming out on PlayStation that are going to be amazing. So
Important to note, though, that both of those games, Ubisoft did say that the next generation version will be available later on. They did not say it'd be available at the launch of the systems. We can assume that would make the most sense. But there's also a possibility that you would have to wait in order to get that next generation feel of those games.
And that is very much possible. I mean, they didn't give a release date because I think they're trying to be vague because they don't want any slip-ups. They don't want anybody going, oh, I caught you. You said the Thanksgiving. You said
Says the studio that leaked Far Cry 6 before their hours before their conference.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, Ubisoft, what?
Dude, which, by the way, stoked for Far Cry 6. Oh, my God. That trailer fucking got my skin bumps. Oh my God. I was like, yeah, give it to me.
It got you all goose pimpled. All I'm saying is maybe focus on a couple of things within your company: sexual harassment and leaks.
Again, they are addressing these things. They're not addressing them during their forward where people are like looking to talk about games and all of a sudden they start talking about other stuff. They're like, I just want to know about the game. If you wasn't you complaining about it, if they did it, someone else would complain that they did it during the forward. So it is what it is.
I'd rather people complain about it doing the forward than just complete cultural absence during
It's
their
not a
conference,
cultural absence. They've talked about it. They've had multiple statements being put out and actions with those statements.
It felt very much like they were trying to sweep it under the rug to me.
They've literally fired executives and posted it.
I am not alone in that opinion. But I digress.
You're a digressor.
No.
You're a degreaser.
I am a degreaser.
Wow.
You just spill me all over that grease and I'll sop it up.
I'll break it down.
Let's just quit while we're behind. Let's just not.
No, what is super interesting about this is that this is the first generation where, without some sort of actual backwards compatibility plan, right? Without being able to physically play your PS2 games on the PS3, it looks like multiple people are looking at the best way to handle this. Ubisoft and other third-party companies are wanting to make sure that they can transition these games with their gamers to try and get as much money out of them as possible after the fact and enjoy their games. I'm not taking that out of it. I know these people love it when people clamor over their games, but realistically, they want to keep the money train flowing.
I just feel like it's a lost opportunity for PlayStation not to have the backwards compatibility between all of these consoles. Like, I feel like that's something that should be coming. I know you're teeing me
up, but I'm not done with my conversation, so we'll get there.
He's not ready yet. He's not ready yet.
But I also think it's interesting because of the fact that it really does speak further to Xbox and Sony in their differing opinions here. Where, according to Phil Spencer, like, he truly doesn't care if you go out and buy a Series X day one, or if you wait, or if you never purchase one.
As long as you play,
as long as you play Halo Infinite on whatever device you can. And while I think that is the long play, it makes sense. We've talked about it before. There's no way console generations can continue at the rate that they have, because eventually the technology is going to get to the point where it's kind of pointless to have an exclusive box when you can play wherever.
Let's get real.
PC's already getting there anyway.
Yeah.
Nintendo's been successful because they've been able to hold on to their IPs, control when they release them, how they're released, on what consoles, and they make even more money. Like, just for instance, Dr. Mario, for instance, like, it was given away on the, well, not given away. It was available when you got the subscription.
Yeah.
But say, for instance, like, a game was released on Super Nintendo like that. and then you're like, well, I'm going to release it on the DS. And you know what? No, I'm going to release it on the Switch. And it's like, you just have a whole nother set of people with nostalgic factors also buying this game that you have already coded is just needed to be ported over, and you're making even more money on this same exact game. Whereas a lot of people are looking at Xbox saying, we want to make money on our games, and Xbox is like, we want it to be available on all the platforms. It's like, yeah, but we could have some people buying it on 2 platforms. We're missing out on a lot of people doubling down. And it's like, but that's not what we want. And PlayStation is saying, we don't care. We want you to buy it on both platforms. We just want you to be comfortable during the transition right now.
Yeah, what PlayStation has said is that we're just not going to hold back development on an exclusive game to hinder it to last generation's hardware. Like they just don't care.
Well, newer games don't need to be backwards compatible,
exactly.
Which is fine. Right. But the ones that have been coded for PS4 should be able to be played. If I bought Spider-Man, that should be able to be played on the PS5, in my opinion.
I mean, it will be. We know that. They said the top 100 games. Now, I imagine but that list is growing.
They didn't number them and name them, so I'm not being, but they will.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man is what they showed the PS5 off with. If they don't,
I was about to say. I mean, I would be very surprised if they didn't, but at the same time, I don't want to be that asshole.